with nearly 600 million households in Africa having no access to electricity, the continent is unable to leapfrog our economies. Investments in mini power grids could tilt the curve and see the continent step up power connections. CNBC Africa is now joined live by Manoj Sinha, the CEO and founder at Husk Power, for more. Thank you, Manoj, for joining us on the show. Well, a lot to expect in regards to investments in the rural setups across Africa. Perhaps just give us the assessment, really. Where is sub-Saharan Africa when it comes to the installation of renewable energy, and what are the gaps that you see?
And thank you for having me. So from Husk Power perspective, what we do is we build and deploy mini grids in Nigeria as of now. And the current state of sub-Saharan Africa, as you rightly pointed, is not just limited to 600 million people who do not have any electricity. It is much more than 600 million people who do not have access to reliable electricity. For example, in Nigeria alone, we have over 100 million people who do not have access to reliable electricity. So the problem is pretty vast. The power or energy needs are probably 10 times of what it is today. And if you go down to renewable energy capacity, it is not even touching the floor. So the opportunities are huge. We need to deploy hundreds of gigawatts across sub-Saharan Africa. And solar power is at the cusp in terms of economic output. For every kilowatt hour of energy generated is very economically viable. And in this climate change era, where we were talking about Davos meeting, it is absolutely essential that we leapfrog to renewable energy powered by solar and other interventions like hydro. And solar is poised to solve this gap of 600 million people who do not have access to any electricity in the most economic or most capital efficient way, using these decentralized mini-grids like we do in Nigeria as of now.
And if you to give us the gaps you're seeing in terms of the investment space for mini-grids in Africa, how big is it? And at the same time, how revolutionary will this be in transforming rural economies that have for years not been part of the national grid?
Let me start with our journey in Nigeria, where we started 4 years ago with, like I said, 100 million people already not having electricity at all. And we could deploy 66 mini grids in 2024 at quite a rapid pace because we were able to bring in capital from outside. And Nigerian regulation and policies allowed us to deploy that very quickly. If we were to do that in an older way, which is centralized planning, centralized expansion, it would have taken us 10 years to do what we were able to do in less than 12 months. So the speed matters. We are able to bring in capital at speed as well, provided policy and regulations are favorable to doing this type of intervention. And what is very important is we don't just supply electricity and stop there, which we are doing, which is 24/7 power, but we are also promoting productive uses of power, wherein MSMEs, which are our largest client base both in India and Nigeria right now, are able to use lower cost electricity as they displace 100% diesel and are able to prosper economically because they are now going to be able to do more with automated process, and they have to spend much less for the same energy that they were generating before with diesel generators. So it is 100% energy provided to these people as they are progressing economically speaking, and the economic prosperity gets propelled by these renewable energy sources that are much cheaper, 50% cheaper than diesel, that we are able to bring to these villages. So decentralized electrification for these 600 million people across sub-Saharan Africa, as the World Bank indicates, the fastest way and the most capital efficient way to reach 200,000 villages is to use mini-grids deployment.
And Manoj, looking at the year, it's still pretty young. What's your outlook for 2025? And perhaps just give us a lowdown on what you anticipate for other regions that you're not present in.
So we closed Series D round of funding with debt in October 2023 that added to $100 million. And we have been able to deploy that capital quite rapidly in Nigeria plus Asia or India in our case. We were able to double our mini-grids footprint from 200 to 400, making us the largest mini-grid operator or community mini-grid operator in the world. And we were able to grow our top line by 143% year over year in US dollars, hard currency, which is difficult to do. And in 2025, we want to continue with that momentum and grow our company by another 100%. Obviously, to fuel this growth, we need more capital, and we'll be out there in the market to raise much more capital to be able to fuel our 100% compounded annual growth rate that we are projecting for the next 3 to 5 years. We are very strong in Nigeria. We are, in fact, the number one mini-grids company in Nigeria. We are looking at other countries to enter that may include DRC, that may include Madagascar. I heard about Uganda. We are also interested in Uganda to enter those markets. So as a company, we plan to enter at least 5 other markets in sub-Saharan Africa and deliver on our Africa Sunshot initiative of 2,500 mini-grids over the next 5 years. So that's our ambition, and we want to bring more capital to fuel the ambition that we have in the near future.
You did touch on a very ambitious plan. How will this be financed? Are you looking to float an IPO for equity, and how much are you looking at?
So we do have a plan to go to an IPO market in the next 3 to 4 years. So let's say 2027, 2028 timeframe. In order to get there, like I said, we closed Series D round of funding in 2023. We plan to go out in the market in the second half of 2025 to raise Series E round of funding with approximately $150 million of equity and $250 million of debt, making the total pool of investment $400 million. Because this is the basic minimum capital that we need to fuel our ambition of Africa Sunshot initiative that I just mentioned, and also expand in other Southeast Asian countries that we are targeting, the likes of Indonesia and Philippines beyond India. So that would be our stepping stone to IPO, which we plan to launch in 2027-2028 timeframe to raise another round of hopefully $1 billion equity at that point in time. Because like I mentioned earlier, Sub-Saharan Africa needs hundreds of gigawatts of renewable energy. And even if we do $1 billion of raise in 2027-2028, Africa needs more than hundreds of billions of dollars. So we are still scratching the surface. But yes, we do want to go in the market in 2027, 2028 to IPO.
All right.
And hopefully raise $1 billion.